Hello everyone, welcome to Jamaica 411. Thank you so much for stopping by, keeping me company as usual. If you're here with me for the first time, welcome. Please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, share, and feel free to leave your comments in the comments section. To my subscribers and regular viewers, welcome back. Nice to have you as usual. You know the ropes. You're going to give the video a thumbs up from now. Share the video, return, so that we can have a conversation. And my word, have I got something for you? And so I'm going to make an extra request that you get your popcorn, get your soda or your juice, and I mean orange juice. You can try a little Rare Nephew too. Don't sit at the edge of your seat because you may fall off when you hear what I have to tell you in this video. So also remember now to leave your comments. It's most appreciated, and I thank you in advance. Now that is out of the way, let's get down to business. As you can see in the right bottom of the thumbnail, I label it part 1 of 2, which means that there's a second part coming. This video is over an hour long and I have to split it in 2 for you. So look out for second part because the second part is also very important. All right, now let's get down to it. On screen, you're looking at a part of the report of the Director of Corruption Prosecution. I should let you know her name is Keisha Prince Kameka. Keisha Prince Kameka. It's a pretty name, isn't it? For a pretty young lady. I know you would agree, especially you fellas. All right, so let me begin. It says, re-investigation report into the statutory declarations submitted by the Most Honorable Mr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister, for the years 2019 to 2022, pay attention to that, 2019 to 2022, in respect of concerns that he owns assets disproportionate to his lawful earnings and that he made false statements in his statutory declarations by way of omissions contrary to law. Now you notice that she included the what would have been the illicit enrichment portion of it, even though it was not referred to her, because that's what the investigation was about, or the investigations. There were 2 of them. So let me begin by reading now what it says is the background. So she's giving her background to this matter. Now, paragraph 1 says, on July 19, 2024, let us make a note of that date. The Corruption Prosecution Division received a case file from the Director of Investigation for a determination to be made as to whether the evidence collected met the prima facie standard for a viable prosecution to be mounted against the Most Honorable Mr. Andrew Holness, Prime Minister of Jamaica, hereinafter referred to as Honorable Prime Minister. Now, that legal jargon, prima facie or prima facie, not sure how to pronounce it, but what it means in this instance is that when looking at the evidence is going to give you a first impression that it is correct, right? Well, they're saying that they would accept it as correct until proved otherwise. So that's what that phrase prima facie means. So let me continue. She's now explaining. It was alleged inter alia, and remember inter alia means among other things, that the Honorable Prime Minister committed the offense of making a false statement in a statutory declaration contrary to Section 43(2)(a) of the Integrity Commission Act. Now, you notice in the heading, there is not only the mention of the matter that was referred to her, having made false statements in his statutory declaration by way of omissions, that's mentioned, but also in the heading is mentioned there the matter of his assets being disproportionate to his lawful earnings. Now, that was never referred to her, and yet it prims up there in the title. But, she's a smart young miss, so she's dealing with what was referred to her. At paragraph 2, it says, it should be noted that the considerations herein are limited to the aforementioned offense, which is having making false statements in a statutory declaration, yes, that's what she's saying, are limited to the aforementioned offense and or offenses relating to acts of corruption as may be disclosed on the material provided in keeping with the provisions of Section 34(1)(a) of the Integrity Commission Act, which reads, and I'm going to read it for you. So she's reading her powers now. So this is where her powers come from, 34(1)(a). The Director of Corruption Prosecution shall, that meaning no if and buts, no maybe about it, shall. So the Director of Corruption Prosecution shall, A, subject to the powers conferred on the Director of Public Prosecution, that is the DPP, by Section 94 of the Constitution of Jamaica, institute, undertake, and have the conduct of prosecutions in respect of acts of corruption and offenses committed under this act. So this is what gives her the power. So any kind of act of corruption, any kind of offenses that are committed, if people are speaking out of turn when they should not, if they don't submit their statutory declaration on time, if they don't submit their statutory declarations at all, or if they're referred to them for illicit enrichment, if they are referred to her for investigation into permits, contracts, and so on, she has the conduct of that prosecution. So she can institute it and conduct it. So that is what would normally happen with the DPP. She now has the power to prosecute matters of corruption. But let me continue. Acts of corruption has been defined by the Integrity Commission Act in Section 2 as an offense under the Corruption Prevention Act or an offense relating to the conduct of any person that constitutes an abuse or a misuse of his office, whether or not within the public sector, whether or not within the public sector for the purpose of conferring a benefit or an advantage to himself or another person, being an offense arising under the common law or any enactment. That's what corruption is. Using your office for personal benefit, whether it's your own personal benefit or the benefit for somebody else. At paragraph 3, she's now dealing with the matter of making false statement in a statutory declaration and what the law says. So she reads the law. It's Section 39(1) of the Integrity Commission Act states, subject to the provisions of this act, every person who on or after the appointed day, which is the day the law came into effect, is a parliamentarian or public official shall submit to the Director of Information and Complaints a statutory declaration of his assets and liabilities and his income in the form set out in the third schedule. Now, you remember in the last video, I explained that there were two commissions that were taking the statutory declarations. There was one set up for parliamentarians and one set up for the public officials. It's now combined. And that's Section 39(1) of the Integrity Commission Act. It is saying that both must now submit their statutory declarations to the Director of Information and Complaints of the Integrity Commission. Let me continue. Further, Section 43(2)(a) of the Integrity Commission Act prescribes a person who knowingly makes a false statement in a statutory declaration commits an offense and is liable on summary conviction in a parish court to a fine not exceeding $2 million or to a term of imprisonment not exceeding 2 years, and the court may make such order as it thinks fit. Serious business that them now rump. At paragraph 4, she went on to say, making false statement in a statutory declaration, the facts. So before that, she established what the law was, and now she's establishing what the facts are in the case. So this is where now we're going to hear what I go on. So let me read it for you. The statutory declaration of assets, liabilities, and income filed by the Honorable Prime Minister for the period ending December 31, 2021, was reviewed in making a determination with regard to this offense. That's the making a false statement. There is no dispute that the Honorable Prime Minister is a parliamentarian and, as such, is required to submit a statutory declaration for the period ending December 31, 2021. A statement on file from the relevant reporting and compliance officer of the Information and Complaints Division of the Integrity Commission noted that the Honorable Prime Minister submitted his statutory declaration for this period, and a review was conducted of same on August 17, 2022. It is noted in the relevant statement that the examination process involves the review of the current statutory declaration to highlight new information as well as information removed when compared to the previous statutory declaration submitted. The examination process also includes the inspection to determine whether all the relevant supporting documents are appended based on the information declared on the statutory declaration. Remember I told you that when they're submitting the statutory declaration, every line item that they put, they needed to submit supporting documents. Yes. Anyway, it goes on to say, and conducting third-party verifications via access to available third-party databases, as well as requesting information from third-party entities. That would be like the banks and the financial institutions, and the third-party databases would probably be like the titles office and the company's office. In the event that any disparity is identified between the current and previous statutory declarations, the supporting documents appended, and the information obtained from any third-party entity or database, a request is sent to the declarant by way of letter to provide additional information and or explanations to clarify the findings of the Integrity Commission. So basically what they're saying, that what they do when they receive these declarations, the newer ones, they compare the new ones with what was there before, the information there before, they check the databases and they verify information. If there's any difference that they cannot explain based upon the information that they gather, they write a letter to the declarant and ask for an explanation. That's what that is saying. Great. So at paragraph 5 now, on October 26, 2022, make note of all these dates now. Let me make a little note myself. I did, so let me continue. On October 26, 2022, the Integrity Commission sent a letter of even date, meaning same day, to several financial institutions requesting information pertinent to accounts held for the period January 31, 2016 to December 31, 2021. Is that a mistake? Hold on there now. They began the review of his 2021 statutory declaration August 17, 2022. On October 26, 2022, they sent out a letter to financial institutions requesting information pertinent to accounts since January 31, 2016. That is even before the Integrity Commission came into effect. I don't get this. But let me continue and see if we have some explanation. So anyway, it says held for the period January 31, 2016 to December 31, 2021 in the names of public officials identified. Whoa! Whoa there, horsey. Whoa! Did you hear that? It's not Holness alone they were inquiring about. There were other public officials. Now remember, public officials are the parliamentarians plus the other persons that work with government. So they, for some reason, we don't know yet, decide to go look all the way back to 2016, January 31. Not the 1st of January, but the 31st of January, right? All the way up to 2021. And there were a number of persons that they had identified that they were looking into their statutory declaration. Let's read and see what else we might discover. So we discover something very important in what the Director of Corruption Prosecution has said. Let's read on. I'm getting very excited. I don't know about you. She said, in the names of public officials identified who were required to file statutory declarations in accordance with the Integrity Commission Act. The Honorable Prime Minister was included in the list of names provided with the request for account information from the Bank of Nova Scotia Jamaica Limited, a copy of which is on file, exhibited with the relevant statement and labeled. Now, I'm assuming that the other letter with the names were separate from this one, because if they were all on the same letter, she would have to either blot out the other names because, for them something to come up yet, and leave Andrew Holness' name in order that persons can, have the evidence of what it is that she's saying. Anyway, let us continue. In paragraph 6, she said, on January 23, 2023, that's just a couple months later, a response was received from Scotia Group Jamaica Limited along with financial information relevant to the Honorable Prime Minister as per the Integrity Commission's request on October 26, 2022, identifying accounts held with Bank of Nova Scotia Jamaica Limited. On February 21, 2023, the review of the Honorable Prime Minister's Statutory Declaration of Assets, Liabilities, and Income as at December 31, 2021 recommenced to incorporate all the information received during the Integrity Commission third-party verification process. With the requested financial information to hand, the further review of the 2021 Statutory Declaration unearthed 3 Bank of Nova Scotia savings account numbered 21, 64, and 60, which were not declared to the Integrity Commission on any previous statutory declarations submitted by the Honorable Prime Minister. All right, so they went fishing, and Scotiabank found for them 3 accounts that Holness' name is on, and so they now realize that he didn't declare them. All right, let's see what happened. On March 10, 2023, the Director of Information and Complaints wrote to the Honorable Prime Minister requesting additional information concerning his 2021 statutory declaration to include, but not limited to, his interest, if any, in the 3 Bank of Nova Scotia savings accounts numbered 21, 64, and 60, which were not included in his 2021 statutory declaration. On March 13, 2023, a letter of response dated March 12, 2023 was received from the Honorable Prime Minister providing noted responses as follows. Now, I know you may think you have heard this, but trust me, you need to listen, because there is some almighty revelation going to come out of what it is that Prince Kameka is saying. Let me continue. Bank of Nova Scotia Jamaica Limited savings account number 21. This account belongs to my father. So they're asking Andrew Holness now to explain. So he's writing back to state, his response to the questions that was asked. So he said, referencing now the account number 21, this account belongs to my father, Maurice Holness. Other than my name being added to the account many years ago as a precaution in the event of emergency, I claim no interest in the account, and it is not part of my assets. He then referenced the other accounts, 64 and 60. These accounts belong to my mother, Carol Harvey. Other than my name being added to the accounts many years ago as a precaution in the event of an emergency, I claim no interest in the accounts, and they are not part of my assets. That was what Andrew Holness said in his response to Mr. Beresford. Now, my peeps, I recommend that everybody get themselves some popcorn. I should have warned you to get some popcorn, Yes, and soda, and draw a seat. But don't sit at the edge because you might drop off. So get ready, because I'm telling you, you're going to be amazed at what we discovered from what it is that Keisha Prince Kameka, the Director of Corruption Prosecution, reported in her findings. Man, I'm telling you. Anyhow, let's go to paragraph 8. It says, subsequent to this response, this is from Holness now to Mr. Beresford, no further communication occurred between the Honorable Prime Minister and the Director of Information and Complaints regarding any of these three accounts. So after him get that explanation, no further communication about that. Right? Good. None, none at all the way up to when it was referred, is basically what you would be saying. Anyhow. Additionally, no evidence was provided to indicate a review having then been conducted by the Director of Information and Complaints in relation to the statutory declaration for the period ending December 31, 2022. Now, you will recall in the heading that it said that the declarations that they were examining or reporting on was from 2019 until 2022. This is what she's responding, and she's saying, additionally, no evidence was provided to indicate a review having then been conducted by the Director of Information and Complaints in relation to the statutory declaration ending December 2022. So him never examined it. So how the hell it ended up being investigated? All right, good. So she making that point that she not seen no evidence before about that. Good. She went on to say at 9, having identified inter alia, which means among other things, the alleged false statement by way of omission from the review of the Honorable Prime Minister's statutory declaration for period ending December 31, 2021. The matter was then referred to the Director of Investigation for an investigation. The lead investigator in a statement noted that as part of the investigation, a request was sent to Bank of Nova Scotia requesting any and all information regarding the Honorable Prime Minister and any companies associated with him. A statement dated June 9, 2023 from an authorized officer at Bank of Nova Scotia disclosed all accounts located by that institution, held solely by the Honorable Prime Minister and with him as joint account holder for the period January 1, 2020 to the date of the statement, which is 2021. This statement disclosed 4 Bank of Nova Scotia savings accounts jointly held, numbered 21, 64, 60, and then found another one, which is now 42, not declared by him in his statutory declaration for period 2021. The authorized officer's statement exhibited a customer details table labeled NFP1, which highlighted information to include, but not limit to, these 4 accounts as follows. And then they name them. This, how much money is in each of them, and you can read that for yourself. At paragraph 10, she said, subsequent to receiving the response from the authorized officer at Bank of Nova Scotia, where the 4 jointly held accounts were identified, a letter dated August 18, 2023 was drafted and sent under the hand of the Director of Investigation with attached judge's rule to counsel for the Honorable Prime Minister, advising that the Honorable Prime Minister is a suspect in an investigation for breaches not limited to Section 43(2) of the Integrity Commission Act. This letter consisted of questions relating to, among other things, the 4 Bank of Nova Scotia accounts. A response was provided to the Director of Investigation by the Honorable Prime Minister, dated September 29, 2023, and of note are the following responses. Now I'm just going to read a little part of it and then move on. So it says here, question 21. How are you associated with Bank of Nova Scotia account 60? And his response was, BNS account 60 is primarily held by my mother, Carol Harvey Richards, my name was added to this account for survivorship reasons. What was the source of funds used to maintain this account? And his response is, I am not able to say with certainty and completeness regarding the source of funds for all the deposits to this account. Can you imagine? From all the way from the 70s, you know. According to the statements provided at Appendix 8, deposits appear to be national insurance payments for the Ministry of Labor. There are also transfers from my personal accounts to BNS 60. So I was taking care of my mommy. Good boy, good boy. How are you associated with account number 64? And he said that it's his mother's account. They ask him about the source of funding. You can pause the video and take a read for yourself. I imagine the same line of questions were asked for the other two remaining accounts. So let us move along. So here we go now to paragraph 11, making false statement in a statutory declaration, application of law to facts. So she'll do the combination of what the law says in terms of what the facts are, and then she go, do her little stuff. Great. So let's read. Now she asks a question. Was there an obligation to declare Bank of Nova Scotia savings accounts number 21, 6460 and 42? Based on the witness statements on file, there is no dispute that the Honorable Prime Minister had an obligation under Section 39(1) of the Integrity Commission Act to submit a statutory declaration for the period ending December 31, 2021. Not in dispute. It is also undisputed that same was submitted for the noted period. That him submitted, yes, true. Additionally, it is not in question that he was a joint account holder of 4 Bank of Nova Scotia savings accounts number 21, 6460 and 42, as he acknowledged this in his responses provided on September 29, 2023. Section 2 of the Integrity Commission Act defines property to include assets of every kind, whether corporeal or incorporeal. I think that means whether it is physical or non-physical. I guess, yes, I think that's what that means. Movable or immovable, meaning that, like your fridge or your TV, that's movable. What's not movable is your house. Tangible or intangible, I guess that could be like when you own a business. The intangible would be like the business name. I forget, there's a term for it. It does have a value. So if you sell your business and they want to buy your business name, they have to pay a good amount of money for it. Goodwill. I remembered. Goodwill, you no longer don't use that term. Yes. And the tangible would be, I guess, the shares of the company. Let me continue. And legal documents or instruments evidencing title to or interest in such assets. So that's what property is defined as. Accordingly, the requirement for disclosure pursuant to Section 39(1) of the Integrity Commission Act extended to these bank accounts and therefore should have been declared by the Honorable Prime Minister in his statutory declaration for the period during which he was a joint holder. Having established that these accounts are considered assets and should have been disclosed, the question is whether or not these accounts should have been disclosed in his statutory declaration of assets, income, and liabilities for the specific period ending December 31, 2021. In other words, let her tell you. Let me not meddle. It is therefore necessary to demonstrate that the Honorable Prime Minister was a joint holder of these accounts between January 1, 2021 and December 31, 2021. Why? Because that is the statutory declaration that was referred, not the one from 2016 onward to December 31, 2020. It was a 2021 statutory declaration. You following? Great. Let's continue. Now, she has to do all of this because she's the one that will be mounting the prosecution, and she therefore must know all these things because the court is going to ask these questions. You understand? Great. So, it says for Bank of Nova Scotia accounts 60 and 64, that's his mother's account. So they go with the first one, account number 60. The authorized officer of Bank of Nova Scotia in a statement exhibited a transaction history for the period from December 31, 2017 to October 31, 2019 labeled, and she labeled it, and from October 31, 2019 to May 5, 2023, and she labeled it, for account number 60. Each page of the statement shows only one name, noted to be the mother of the Honorable Prime Minister. I wonder if you just realize what I just told you. Let me read it again, because I think you get it. The authorized officer of the Bank of Nova Scotia, in his statement, that the Director of Investigation requested and received and read the same statement that he received from the officer that Kameka is now reading and telling us about. He read it. And here it is that she's saying that when she looked on the statement, you see how much statement? All the way from 2017 to 2023, right? The statements page after page after page that she went through is only one name appeared on it. One name, right? Let me continue. Based on the transactions noted in the account during this period, pension deposits into the account each month were clearly identified. In other words, the name on the account is Andrew Holness' mother's name, and our pension benefits were being deposited in that account. This is what the investigator Kevin Stevenson saw, right? What the hell am I going to ask the Prime Minister now? What is his interest? Well, they had to ask the Prime Minister what is his interest in the account, because BNS said that his name is on the account. But apparently, they did not notice that only the mother's name alone is on the account. How the hell am I expected the prosecutor to go and mount a prosecution on such an account? I would say they had that expectation because Andrew Holness himself had admitted that he was a joint holder. So they thought that that was sufficient, right? So let me continue. Let's hear what else she says. So she said that the amounts that were being deposited were clearly identified as pension deposits. Further review of the exhibit reveals no more than 8 transactions in any month, and detailed debit loan transactions, pension payments, credits to the account, and interest payments. That's all that was in it, she's saying so far. At paragraph 13, she says, a statement from another authorized officer at the Bank of Nova Scotia, dated June 11, 2024, this after, outlines the procedure for effecting joint ownership of an account. The statement noted that in relation to Bank of Nova Scotia account number 60, the relevant signature sheet does not assist in determining when the Honorable Prime Minister was added to the account, as that document is illegible. Can't read it. Additionally, no other evidence was provided on file to establish whether independently or from questions posed to the Honorable Prime Minister when he became a joint account holder for this account. In other words, when I went back to the Bank of Nova Scotia to ask, all right, when was he added as an account holder? She has to know that because that could have happened in 2022 or 2023. You follow? Because this investigation was being done after the statutory declaration was submitted, in 2021. So she has to know when she went to the bank or when they went to the bank and asked. Them said when them look at the signature sheet, it's old enough from the 70s. illegible, right? The document is illegible, so they don't know what date it was that he had become an account holder. And then she said that there was no other evidence provided on file to establish, whether independently or from questions posed to the Honorable Prime Minister when he became a joint account holder for this account. So him not know either, right? All he knew was that the mother added him, but not when, because it's not his account. The banking transactions for this account for the period 2017 to 2023 only show his mother as the owner, and therefore it cannot be confirmed or inferred that the Honorable Prime Minister was a joint holder during the period covered by the transaction history. Now, who never say not like this? How the hell did the Bank of Nova Scotia then come to send this over to the Director of Investigation, claiming that Holness is a joint holder with his mother when his name does not appear on their statement? It is not on the statement, meaning it's not on the account. Or in any event, when the Bank of Nova Scotia computerized, they could make out who else was on the account, so the mother's name appeared only. How then did they conclude that it was he and his name was the joint holder when they have no evidence of it? And yet, the investigator didn't see that. He didn't see and ask, how come you're saying that the man is a joint holder and you have only the mother's name on the statement? No, seriously, this is gross incompetence, and it took the prosecutor to find this out, and it's not she doing the investigation. But let me continue. The fact that transactions were observed from another account held solely by the Honorable Prime Minister to this account does not give rise to an inference that he was a joint holder during the specific period 2021. Consequently, a critical element would not have been proven to proceed from the noted offense for this account, as there is insufficient evidence that during the period 2021 he was a joint holder of this account, which would place a legal obligation on him to declare same. At this point, I should remind you that this ruling came out September 2 of 2024. Remember that the investigator did his report August 30, so he would not have known her ruling. I imagine now they are readjusting his 2021 declaration to remove the mother's account number 60. Let us now look at what's the circumstance with account number 64. It says here at 14, the authorized officer at Bank of Nova Scotia in a statement exhibited a transaction history for this account for the period from October 31, 2017 to October 31, 2019, labeled, and for the period from October 31, 2019 to April 5, 2023. As with the previous account, each page of the statement shows only one name, noted to be the mother of the Honorable Prime Minister. Uno hearing this? Is this for real? There is no evidence provided that this account is jointly owned with the Honorable Prime Minister or any other individual as noted in Exhibit Accounts Details Table. A statement from another authorized officer at the Bank of Nova Scotia dated June 11, 2024 outlines the procedure for effecting joint ownership of an account. The statement noted that in relation to Bank of Nova Scotia accounts number 64, the bank is unable to confirm the date when the Honorable Prime Minister became a joint holder for said account, as the relevant records are not available. Similarly, as with the account discussed above, which is 60, no other evidence was provided to establish this fact. The banking transactions for this account for the period 2017 to 2023 only detail his mother as owner, and therefore it cannot be confirmed or inferred that the Honorable Prime Minister was a joint holder during the period covered by the transaction history. As with the previous account, a critical element that would have been proven to proceed with the noted offense for this account, that him left it off of his statutory declaration, the false statement, yes, as there is insufficient evidence that during the period 2021 he was a joint holder of this account, which would place a legal obligation on him to declare same. So the two accounts owned by his mother is in her name only. The Bank of Nova Scotia sent statements to that effect, and therefore, even though he thought that he was a joint holder, right? If anything had happened to his mother, he would not have been able to draw down any money on those accounts because his signature is not on it. That's what this is proving. This is amazing. And the investigator saw the same thing that the prosecutor saw, and then he went and wrote in his report referring the matter to the Director of Corruption Prosecution on the basis that Holness made false statements on his declarations for two accounts on which his name does not appear. What kind of carelessness is this? So I'm going to cut the video here. Please join me. The prosecutor's reasons for not charging Holness. Please join and watch the second part of this important video. Thanks so much for joining. You take good care of yourselves and walk good.